Haunted houses attract thousands of visitors each year, all hoping to catch a glimpse of a ghost or visit the location of a crime. The question is, are you brave enough to spend the night in a haunted house? Number 5. The tiny town of Villisca, Iowa, would be propelled into the headlines in June of 1912 for a macabre reason. People from around the world would forever associate its name with the haunted house that stands there. Tucked away on a quiet street, the Villisca Axe House is now a tourist attraction that brings in thousands of visitors each year, hoping to catch a glimpse of the ghosts that roam its grounds. The once unassuming house, filled with life, now stands empty and reminds those in Villisca of the evil that walks among them. On June 9, 1912, the Moore family went about their day as normal, running errands and visiting the local Presbyterian church. The Moore family had invited friends over to stay with them for the evening, and at around 10 p.m., they arrived at the Moore family home, ready to settle in for the night. By June 10, 1912, the small town of Villisca would awake to shocking news. 6 members of the Moore family, along with their 2 guests, were found in the home, having been bludgeoned to death while they slept. A neighbor sounded the alarm after she noticed that the home was unusually quiet. A relative of the Moore family came to the home and opened the front door and made a horrific discovery. The town's doctors were immediately called to the scene, and they were able to deduce that the person responsible had broken into the home at around midnight, waiting for the perfect time to strike. The killer had waited until everyone in the house was asleep before taking an axe that belonged to the Moore family and attacking them while they slept. It was quickly theorized that the person responsible knew the Moore family and had extensive knowledge of the layout of the house. They first targeted the older members of the family and knew which bedroom they were in, avoiding the younger occupants. In a bizarre twist, the Axeman also locked the front door behind him and took the keys. As the hours passed, more and more people poured through the crime scene, hoping to catch a glimpse at the Villisca Axe murders. Hundreds of people had walked through the scene, making it impossible for detectives to collect evidence. Despite a lengthy investigation, the perpetrator was never caught, and the murders are still unsolved. In the aftermath of the murders, the home of the Moore family was turned into a macabre attraction, bringing in visitors from all over Iowa and beyond. The home is the location of one of Iowa's oldest unsolved cases, and with that comes ghost sightings and stories of creepy goings-on. Many families tried to live in the Villisca Axe House in the years after the attack, but they never lasted long. Families would run out of the house vowing to never return after being visited by ghostly apparitions in the night and reporting hearing footsteps and voices. Some people have also reported that things in the Villisca Axe House move on their own. In November of 2014, the home found itself the center of attention once again when a ghost hunter was found with self-inflicted stab wounds to his chest after spending the night there. When speaking to Vice.com, Sheriff Simpson said, quote, "From my understanding, he was alone in the northwest bedroom and the rest of the party was outside, and he called for help on their mobile two-way radios. His companions found him stabbed in the chest and called 911. Medical reports indicate that the wound was self-inflicted and there was no one else in the house at the time." Martha Lynn purchased the property in 1994 and turned it into a museum and tourist attraction that is today charging those brave enough to stay there $428 per night. Lynn told Vice.com, quote, "I have notebooks from just the 2 last years full of what overnight experiences people have had. very few of them go away without experiencing something. Number 4. Often called the most haunted house in Italy, Via dei Vecchi was once a beautiful home that is now said to be haunted by its past. Located in Cartanova, Italy, the home is sometimes referred to as the Red House, the Ghost Mansion, and the House of Witches. Completed in 1857, the Via played host to Count Felix dei Vecchi during the summer months when he and his family wanted to get away for a while. Shortly after its completion, the Via would be marked with tragedy and set in motion a tragic chapter in the lives of the de Vecchi family. A year before the home was completed, the lead architect passed away, marking the first tragic event to happen at the home. Despite his passing, construction continued, although in retrospect, his death was perhaps a sign of what was yet to come. In 1962, Count de Vecchi returned home to the Via to find his wife murdered and that his daughter had mysteriously vanished. He believed that his family had been targeted and vowed to avenge his wife and daughter and get his revenge. De Vecchi was the head of the Italian National Guard and played an instrumental role in Milan's liberation from Austria in 1848. Because of this, de Vecchi believed that someone was out to get him. After discovering that his wife had been murdered and his daughter was missing, de Vecchi sent out search parties and threw himself into locating his missing daughter. Sadly, these searches did not lead to her rescue, and after a few months, he took his own life, unable to live with the pain and sadness of losing his family. Following the passing of de Vecchi, ownership of the Via was transferred to Biagio de Vecchi, the Count's brother. Biagio and his family lived in the Via until the end of World War II, after which they left for undisclosed reasons. By the 1960s, the Via was abandoned entirely, leaving the once beautiful structure to be reclaimed by nature. To add to the Via's history of negative energy, Aleister Crowley is rumored to have spent time there in the 1920s. It's been alleged that he used the Via to perform rituals, leading others to follow in his footsteps. Many self-confessed Crowley fans have traveled to the abandoned Via to perform their magic ceremonies, giving birth to the notion that all sorts of dark energy is lurking within the home. If you're brave enough to visit the home at night, you may hear a grand piano being played by a ghost that is said to roam the Via. Despite the piano no longer existing, locals insist that the music still plays. For those wishing to explore the home, travel guides have issued a word of warning. In 2002, an avalanche struck the area, causing structural damage to the home. All houses in the area were wiped out by the avalanche, apart from the creepy Via dei Vecchi. Number 3. Built in 1620, Scale House sits on the Bay of Scale in Orkney Isles, Scotland. The home is steeped in mystery and in modern times has been transformed into a visitor center and self-catering flats where visitors can relax and take in the beautiful views of the Orkney Islands. Despite its overwhelming beauty and serene backdrop, Scale House is much more well known for the ghosts that call it home. The home itself is built on a Pictish burial ground, a group of people that inhabited the island before the Vikings invaded and took over. The land was given to Bishop George Graham in 1620, who commissioned the building of Scale House as a place for him and his people to live. Over the centuries, Scale has been called home by numerous different groups of people and families, all bringing their own stories and experiences to the table. In more recent years, Scale House was restored and opened fully to the public, and this is when the ghost sightings began popping up. According to the home's official website, the current Lord of Scale House claims to have heard footsteps coming up the stairs one night, causing his dog to bark and run out of the room. When the Lord stepped out to investigate, there was no one there. According to locals, the presence at the scale house is known as Yubi, a man who built a small island nearby by dropping stones into the water one by one. Legend has it that Yubi died while he was creating the small island, and now his ghost haunts Scale House. One employee was shocked when a visitor asked her about the mysterious man working in the house's gun room. The employee didn't know what they were talking about because there were no men on duty in the gun room that night. The visitor even claimed that she'd asked the mysterious man a question and he had answered her. When Scale House was being renovated, workmen found 15 skeletons along the south wing of the home and out onto the gravel at the front. When they were sent to the nearest university for carbon dating, it revealed they belonged to Norsemen, and it's believed that more bodies are buried underneath the house in a Norse graveyard. Number 2. In Taiwan's countryside, there is an abandoned house that is known by the locals as the Ghost House. It's located in the southwest of Taiwan, and the Ghost House was built during the Japanese colonial era between 1895 and 1945. The family was inhabited by the Liu family, who were the main figureheads of immigrant groups at the time. As the Japanese occupation of Taiwan continued, so did the infighting, and the Liu family used this home as their strategic headquarters, posting bodyguards and militiamen outside of the gates ready to spring into action. In the 1950s, the Liu family mysteriously abandoned the home, and it's been an attraction for paranormal investigators ever since. Legend has it that Liu Rongyu was one of the heads of the Liu family and had an affair with a young maid. This is where the story becomes complicated. Some say that the maid threw herself down the stairs after she was unable to live with the shame of the affair, while others say that she did it because Liu's wife found out and drove her to do it. After the maid passed away, the Liu family began reporting hearing strange noises throughout the home, and Liu Rongyu was convinced that the spirit of the maid had come back to haunt them for eternity. Unable to live with the torment, the Liu family abandoned the home forever, leaving it to decay. This isn't the only creepy story to come out of the mansion either, though. Another tale involves the Japanese army and how they'd been stationed at the mansion during the height of World War II. The story claims that a Japanese soldier opened fire on a mysterious figure he saw moving around the grounds of the home. This woke up the other soldiers who engaged in a fight, but it's unknown what transpired, and by morning, all of the Japanese soldiers had been shot. Number 1. The city of Sheffield in South Yorkshire is known for its steel production and being home to the world's oldest independent football club. But 8.7 miles out from the city center lays a hotel that is steeped in legend and well known among the locals as being the most haunted hotel in Sheffield. The hotel is open throughout the year, with guests visiting the historic hotel for lunch or making use of the hotel's many buildings that host weddings and other celebrations. No matter the occasion, everyone who has stayed at the Marsborough Hall Hotel has a ghost story or two to tell. The hotel is a converted 12th century manor house and naturally brings with it a lot of history, whether that may be good or bad. Most guests who stay overnight at the hotel report seeing a ghost known as the White Lady. Legend has it that in the 1600s, the White Lady, who used to work at the hotel, became pregnant and married a man who promised to take care of her and her child in exchange for her silence. However, the man did not live up to his word, and failed to provide her with money and a place to live. Infuriated, the white lady threatened to tell the man's wife and expose their affair to the local community, which would have caused a huge scandal and compromised his social status. Instead, the man killed the white lady in one of the rooms and left her to be found days later. The room where the white lady passed was later turned into the John Lord Darcy Suite and is a room where guests frequently stay. Those who stay in the Darcy Suite and other rooms in the hotel report hearing loud footsteps in the hallway at night, a woman crying, and doors and windows opening and closing by themselves in the hotel's rooms. Others have reported seeing a mysterious black dog in the hotel grounds, which, according to legend, belongs to the white lady. The dog is said to roam the grounds at night, howling and begging for its beloved owner. The local community were so scared of the Marsborough Hall that a local doctor took it upon himself to spend the night there and prove that ghosts didn't exist. Equipped with his suitcase, Dr. Pilcher checked himself in for a night in the infamous Marsborough Hall. Word quickly spread around Marsborough, and residents began taking bets on how long the doctor would be able to stay in the room alone. Much to everyone's surprise, Dr. Pilcher got through the night unharmed, and at 7 a.m. the next morning, a maid knocked on the door to offer him tea. As he opened the door, the maid froze in horror as she looked into the room. Dr. Pilcher asked what was wrong, and the maid simply said, "It's by your bed, sir." As Pilcher turned around, he saw that there was a pool of blood on the bed that had been splattered across the sheets and onto the floor. According to the employees at the time, they spent weeks scrubbing the room where Dr. Pilcher had stayed, but they were unable to get rid of the bloodstains. Dr. Pilcher quietly left the room at Marsborough Hall and vowed to never return. For just $75, you can book yourself into the famous John Lord Darcy Suite and see if you're brave enough to come face to face with the White Lady. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.